Today's episode is sponsored by Dragon's Den, Games and Hobbies. You can visit them at 552 Main Street in Honesdale, PA, or call them at 570-647-4633.
The Dragon's Den, where gamers unite. Spicy owner in Honesdale under neon lights. Video games, board games, cards at every site. A haven for all, where fun takes flight. Come join the quest in this gaming paradise, where dragons roam free under endless skies. Adventure awaits with every roll of the dice. In Dragon's Den, where the magic never dies. From retro classics to the latest trend, dive into battles with allies and friends. Strategize your moves till the very end. In this realm of games, the fun never ends. Gather round for events galore, a place of joy like never before. Come join the quest in this gaming paradise, where dragons roam free under endless skies. Adventure awaits with every roll of the dice. In Dragon's Den, where the magic never dies. Unleashing the hive, metal tools will be waging. Join us on the journey, gaming is engaging. NDT Gaming, our mission never raging. From pixels to dice, we discuss it all. The thrill of victory, the bitterest defeats fall. Strategies, campaigns, and characters stand tall. A love for the games, both big and small. Through big souls and cards, our friendship will sprawl. Join us on the journey, gaming is engaging. NDT Gaming, our passion never raging. Malaysian. From pixels to dice, we discuss it all. The thrill of victory, the bitterest defeats fall. Strategies, campaigns, and characters stand tall.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another fantastic episode of NDT Gaming. Don't mind my voice. I've been sick for the last week and a half. We're recovering. We're getting through this. Alongside me, as always, is my good buddy Mike from Dragon's Den. You heard the song at the beginning of the episode, downtown Honesdale, PA. Check out that shop. What's up, Mike?
I didn't bring your mat. I forgot.
Hi, Mike. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Are you playing tricks on me today now, or what?
I don't know.
So what's up? Let's kick things off real quick because we did want to do a little bit of nostalgia in gaming episode. We're going to talk about retro games and whatnot. But before the show, you showed me something that you are very, very excited about.
Well, it's a big thing that hits the video game markets and it hits our store personally. I believe it's Sabretooth Games is making it. Just announced, like, I want to say 2 hours ago, Space Marine 3 is in development right now, and they're working really hard to get this out as fast as they can and as beautifully as they can. Anybody who played Space Marine 2 or Space Marine 1, those games are absolutely incredible. And I do believe it really did introduce the video game world to the world that we're in all the time, the World Hammer world and all that fun stuff. It absolutely looked incredible. We joined the story of Lieutenant Titus, former Captain Titus of the Ultramarines, falling from grace as he was labeled a heretic, sent to the world down. I believe he was Death Guard and had to get re-promoted into the Ultramarines, and that probably makes no sense to you. But that was the game that like really got people in here playing as like a group, and like it was kind of neat to see it. Like GW needs to go hard into this because we're really excited about it, because 2 was incredible. I believe 2 should have won Game of the Year. I really do last year, because there was nothing that came out that was anywhere close to as good as that. I mean, I know that Robot game won, but I'm like, that was fun. It was great. But
is that because that one, because it was more of a family game though? Yeah.
Yeah. It's everybody playing it. Everybody did their whatever with it. Excuse me. But like, that was just, it was a lot of like, I don't know. I really did think Space Marine 2 was the thing that everybody was talking about. My guys were leaving the Warhammering tables to go home and play Warhammer after this, and I was like, all these guys did was eat, sleep, and breathe Warhammer, and like it was crazy to see. But 3 getting announced, like the internet just blew up with it, and everybody's going nuts with it. I'm excited too. If Games Workshop was smart, they'd be sending every store cardboard cutout of Titus right now and just flood the window kits with absolutely all that.
Now, is that the company that's working on the third one here? Is it the same company that worked on the second one? Is it the same studio?
Same studio. It is written. Games Workshop is so protective of its IPs and everything. Its writers, its creators, everything that they make for this game has to pass them. If GW does not like how you're doing something, they will scrap it and make you redo it. You have to get the lore accurate to a T. They actually like broke down like when they were doing the character designs and everything else and being like, okay, as an Ultramarine, that uniform is his arm was Space Marine suit is not correct. You have to do this, or this vehicle is not correct. You have to do that. They actually made them like scrap pieces before because they're like, if you're not going to do the lore, you're not going to make this game. And they said, okay. And they did a fantastic job of it.
That's good. So
did you play it?
No, I didn't play it. You know, I don't, unfortunately, I don't buy a whole lot of different games anymore. I pick and choose where I can spend my money and whatnot. You know, I got to be, money's tight, got a budget. So that's not one that I got recently. But now how you're talking about all the lore, I assume that there's a ton of lore behind the tabletop game.
How long is our show? An hour?
Yeah.
An hour is not even going to cover a third of the lore. It's basically humanity fighting off aliens and demons and the warp and everything else, and the God Emperor leading us through, and all this is just a skeleton on the throne right now. And there's like all these different factions, all these different things. It's crazy. It's deep. It's amazing how deep the lore goes. I actually carry the book series, and the book series is like the Black Library is how they thing, and it's just I could fill the wall with just books.
Yeah.
And just all sorts of lore in there. And I mean, some of them are the best written books I've read in a long time. And especially like Warhammer is one of those things where you don't just play the game, you kind of get into the lore and then you start reading up on it. Then you kind of lets it consume you.
Yeah.
And then you're starting to get tattoos on you. Then you start, your store gets covered in flags and people are like, I don't understand what that is. And I was like, that's right, heretic, you don't. But
so is it going to follow the same character from the second one, or yeah, it's
Lieutenant
going to.
Titus.
So
Lieutenant Titus is on the cover.
So was he in the first one as well, or no?
Yes, he was a captain then, but he got demoted.
So this entire video game series is following one character from the entire world.
Yes.
So what you're telling me is these people can actually go in a million different directions and come out with multiple titles to tell different stories.
You 100% could.
Why do you think that they're focusing on one person?
Because it's amazing the stories that they told. There's other video games focusing on other units of Space Marines. There's ones that go like just the average grunt who's in like the world of Astra Militarum. It's crazy what you can do.
Yeah.
It's wild that you can sit there and just like pick one guy in the trench with, he's not anything special. He's not a Primarch. He's not a Space Marine. He is just a human in the trench. He is just a nobody. He is just a average guy with a rifle just trying to stay alive for 6 hours. That's all he's trying to do.
And they can make an entire story about it.
They've made books on it. I'm staring at 3 of the books right now. They made movies, they made video games, they've done like everything with this game. I mean, I could even go have a Warhammer right here and just go crazy with it because they did such an amazing job with the lore. Is like I have people coming in just to pick up the books and they're like they build and read and they're lore junkies. That's what they do. That like the new book drops and it's just talking all about like one group of like Space Marines, one group of the infantry, the Cadians. You could do specific Cadians. You could do specific demon princes. You could do specific things. You get into old world. You can get into Sigmar, which is like fantasy instead of Space Marines and aliens. It's, knights and all that kind of stuff. and like fighting off the undead and all that. I mean, you can deep dive into those lore for. I mean, I have guys in here that know, they're I kind of call them my librarians because they know everything more lore than I could even know, and I know so very little compared to what these guys know with it. It's incredible. But announcing 3 got everybody to go like, holy shit, they knew this was coming, but like, what are you going to go? What can you do? And it literally is no limits or creation of what you can do. The sky is the limit,
Did they give a guesstimate on the date? I mean, not that they're going to give the month, but the year. How long till it comes out, did they say?
They didn't say, but probably next year. They'd like to take their time and they like to work on it.
Next year?
Maybe a year or two.
You think I was gonna say, you think 2026? Because there's so many games that take so long to come out.
But they said after they finished the second one, they went right to work on the third one.
Oh wow, okay. And that was last year, middle of last year.
Yeah. So you had a whole year to kind of get, you can cut, paste, repeat some things, and it works, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I'm glad you got that to look forward to. Now you just got to keep tabs on what's going to happen, what's the story going to be like, what's the gameplay going to be like, and it's all going to come out piece by piece, I'm sure, right? They didn't give any information aside from, hey, it's going to be coming.
That's all they said.
That's crazy. I mean, that's all you really need, though, right?
But what I thought was great was, did you? I believe there's a new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater coming out too.
I heard something about that. I don't know what it's going to be or what the truth to it is going to be. I do know there's a game called Skate that they're putting out again. I remember there was an old one. They're going to do Skate again. And I just saw a report saying that is that the Tony Hawk one or is that a different one?
That's something completely different. That was more of like Tony Hawk kind of laid the foundation for the skateboard games out there.
The Tony Hawk's Underground.
Everybody learned how to sing Superman by Goldfinger because that was like the number one song in that when you're in that like kind of like a warehouse doing all like the kick flips and everything on the pipes and all that. What made it amazing was it was like, here I am doing everything I can. And I mean, I watched kids when I used to work at a skate shop, just combo after combo after combo of just different. It's crazy. Like there's kids who broke 1 million. I actually knew a kid, and it was wild, who like got like on the top tier list.
That's crazy. I used to have so much fun playing Tony Hawk, but before I talk about Tony Hawk, since we can talk nostalgic games, that skate game that I saw coming out, I saw that before it's even released, they're already talking about how they've added microtransactions to it before the launch. Like we've said it multiple times on this show, even microtransactions. It's the way of the future. That's the way all of gaming is going to be now.
But that's where it's going. That's what it's going to be. That's how the world is just going to be right now. The world is going to be microtransactions. Every game is going to be this. It sucks, but that's just, I mean, hey, that's why I push so hard for retro.
Yeah.
I push really hard for retro to like, I don't know. Call me old fashioned, but I'm a big guy of like, the old video games, everything else like that. I just think it's nuts to kind of even do something along the lines of like, what was the last thing you said with the gaming? What, like you bought half of a game for $16.50, and now you're buying like, oh, that's not bad. That's not bad for one of the games that just came out. Okay, now wait a minute. Now there's $20 more is going to come out. Wait a minute, there's $30 more. Got to do this. That Assassin's Creed was like that. Yeah, the game's only $30-$40, but now you're adding on. Oh, you see, you want the good weapons pack. Oh, see, you want the Enzio blades. Oh, you want this. You got to get this. And
it started with DLCs, man. It started with DLCs.
I said it was trouble the moment it launched, and nobody wanted to listen to me. And everybody's like, "You're crazy, Michael." And I'm like, "No, I'm not."
It's maybe it's just the generation we grew up in, man. As I feel like the younger gamers, they don't really care much. This is what they've grown into. They don't really think anything different of it.
Say what you will about Mr. Floppy saves the world,
Mr.
but at least you got the whole game.
Yeah.
Leave Mr. Blobby alone. He is amazing. But hey, you got the whole game. You didn't have to stop halfway through and be like, hey, for $4.99 you can download. No. Bad.
You know what we used to call DLCs back when we were younger? Part 2 of the actual game. Oh, look, part 2's coming out next year. Let's go buy that. It's another game. It's a whole
Dragon
game.
Age. Dragon Age was kind of the first ones where I really did buy it because you really did want to come get the stories. And it was like, did you want to see what happened to Morgan after the end of the one? Go buy it was only like $5, and you're like, okay, like what's $5 anymore?
But that's what it was. Like the DLC content. Once that started and they knew that they can get people to buy little extra pieces of the stories, that's when they decided, all right, well, let's try these little microtransactions.
Well, it's like everybody crapped on, like, I hate to defend the guy sometimes, but like, look at Bezos. I was like, Amazon sucks. Well, we're the one that made the monster. Like,
yeah,
you paid for convenience. You wanted to get the better like the skins. You wanted to get the better guns. You wanted to get this stuff. We made that monster. Same thing with the DLC. If you have the power to just say, I'm not buying it anymore, then that dries up.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, like I was talking to Aaron about that not that long ago. I'm like, say what you will about like retro. I was like, the graphics suck. And I mean, I will not call the PS3 retro yet. He's got one more year before he can find his retro.
It's close.
It's close. But even like PS2 games, where like there's still some games where their graphics and the play kind of still holds up to today. And it's like if you wanted to play Killzone and you want to unlock all guns, they were like, go get a good scrub and go beat the game again.
Yeah.
It wasn't like give us your credit card, go into mom's purse, you won't mind at all. You know what I mean?
I much prefer being able to earn things in games. I hate when you have to pay for crap. That's the problem I run into on this. Well, you know what? I guess it's not really a problem I run into on the game that I'm playing now, the Path of Titans. Because most of the stuff you do earn, but there still are some things that you have to do other things to earn. Like the one skin bundle that you can earn, you have to refer a friend. And all I could think of is, how many friends do I have that want to pretend to be dinosaurs like I'm doing right now? Nobody wants to play a game like that. How the hell do I unlock that skin? It kind of sucks. It pisses me off. It's the little things, man. It's the little things. I mean, if we're going to talk about Tony Hawk, I used to spend hours and hours on Tony Hawk, man. I wasn't even
I'll talk to Tony Hawk.
I wasn't even a skateboarder, but that game is the reason that I could sit down and watch X Games on TV and know exactly which moves were being performed.
Well, there was like Tony Hawk's, and then they did Underground, and they brought like Bam Margera in. And that was the area of like Jackass and the era of like Viva La Bam and all that stuff. That was huge when that game dropped. I mean, those games where the soundtrack alone was like incredible because it was all like early thousands punk rock and like that 99 to whatever punk rock, and people were like, "This is incredible," and I'm like, "Oh, dude!" Like it was like the Dropkick Murphys were on it, like the Flogging Mollies, and I think that was like the first time I ever heard them, and I was like, "These guys are nuts!" And then I'm going to see them every year in concert.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like the soundtrack of my high school days, man.
That's what it was. Yeah, we have Tony Hawk for PS5. Yeah, Tony Hawk is one of those games that like stood the test of time, and a lot of people like that niche fan base kept that game going. But like the soundtrack alone was they used to sell the soundtrack different, like separate. I remember for a few of them because it was such a good soundtrack. It was like Goldfinger and like I think Newfound Glory was on a few of it, and like Blink 182 made a few of it. And
yeah, those were really good, man. Those were games that you could just chill to. You could just spend a night doing that, hanging out, listening to the music, trying to get the high scores. Like you said, what you knew someone who hit over 1 million.
Yeah, his name was I think it was Lou, if I remember. But this was like early 2000s. He used to come in the skate shop, and I brought a PS2 down so the kids can play. And the kid's like, "Oh, I have this game," and he just picked it up, and he's just they're done, and it's like 1 million high score, and I'm like,
"Who the hell are you?"
Scumbag.
Now I have a goal, man. Now I have to bust out the Tony Hawk pack that I have for the PS5 and try to hit 1 million points on that warehouse, the warehouse thing, the level, whatever you want to call it.
Corey, weird thing, and I still have the accounts open. I can sell skateboards.
Yeah. I'm
started
surprised
with
you don't.
Aaron's kid asked me to get skateboards in for like so he could get like the longboarding in. So I got it in.
Yeah.
He was skating around town and he was like, "Hey, where do you get the deck?" And he's like, "Oh, Dragon's Den sells them." And he's like, "You sell skateboards?" I'm like, "I can. It's a hobby."
Games and hobbies, man. Yeah, there you go. Branch out.
That was the funny thing. That was like, you should get into this. You should get into that. I'm like, I should, but I'm not.
You only have so much space in the store,
I only
right?
have so much space. I only have so much funds to put so many spots. And they're like, well, take out something. And I was like, okay, I took out something. Hey, where'd our card game go? Well, I had to make room for this.
Just
I'm
hang one or two longboards on the wall, just in case. You never know.
Yeah. Dude, the
Yeah, why
cloaks
not?
are ridiculous. I got LARPing stuff in.
Yeah, you were telling me about that a few weeks ago.
And that's been wild that like how fast that stuff sells like in the nerd community. I forgot about that.
I'm not surprised that it sells quickly, man. I'm not. People love that kind of stuff.
I'm excited.
All right, so what else do we want to get into retro wise, nostalgia wise? Do you have something off the top of your head
I
you
got
want to hit
quite
on?
a bit of things.
Do we have any anniversaries coming up this year or anything that you remember most?
I think what's going to be really cool is that I don't know if you've noticed, and you probably haven't, but with going about retro and all that stuff, is Uncharted coming up. They just dropped their movie, and they said they're going to make a second movie of that. I don't know if you've ever played those.
I played 4 a little bit. I didn't finish it, but I did play it.
You need to go back and play 1 through 3.
Yeah.
Because those are incredible, like games that nobody really touched unless you owned a PlayStation back then.
I was gonna say they were popular though when they first came out, weren't they?
It was a higher, like it was a more action-packed Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
You were Nathan Drake, and you were like doing like hanging off the back of a plane, or like, you know, trying to outrun a plane with a you know like a quad in the desert kind of thing, looking for like buried treasure and like, you know, Aztec gold. It's wild to see that. And I remember doing the midnight releases, and it hurts to be like, oh, PS3 next year turns retro, and I'm like, you shut your mouth. I did pre-releases for the PS3.
Oh my god, like it makes me feel so old. But like we talk about these things being retro. It's like, man, I not even that we were kids when this stuff came out. Like I wasn't a kid when PS3 came out. Like, and now I feel old. PS3 being retro. Like, that's nuts to think about.
You shut your mouth about PS3 being retro. I'm not ready for that crap.
Like, well, it's like when you talk about music too, though. You talk about classic rock, you and me, we think, you know, 70s and 80s. You say classic rock to kids nowadays, and they say like Korn, Godsmack. It's like, holy crap, we're old as hell now. What's going on? Right, Erie, yeah. If PS3 is retro, what is my OG NES? I guess it's
but
an
yeah,
antique
I
now.
get where you're going down with that.
It's ridiculous.
It's like, yeah, it's like, oh, Korn and Limp Bizkit. I'm like, you shut your mouth. That's not old.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wow.
Yeah, man. But I had like, so you had the Scranton Comic-Con a few weeks back, and that's what really got me thinking about the retro games, the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and all that, and going through and just, you know, fingering through all of those video games on that day. It was kind of cool because I'm standing there starting to feel like a little kid again, feeling like I was out at you know, at a flea market with my parents, because that's what we did when I was a little kid. They would take me to flea markets on the weekends. And the only highlight of that for me was getting to find people that had Nintendo games or Sega games and getting to look through those and see if I could find something I liked. So that was like this big feeling of nostalgia for me. And it was really cool to see all the stuff that I remembered from when I was a kid. Like there were a lot of, I never realized, man, I thought I had a lot of Nintendo games as a kid. I never realized how many there actually are until I started looking through and seeing all of the obscure games that I saw that day. Like there are some titles I never thought of.
Just like, Well, there was titles. I'm like, I don't remember there being a Godzilla game. I don't remember this game. I don't remember that. I mean, then again, I was like 10, so what the hell did I know? I knew DuckTales, the Mario, and like that was in Zelda.
Yeah, there's a lot of obscure games, but the other thing is, there were games that I knew that I had that when I would ask these people that are selling them, hey, you ever hear of this game? Did you ever come across this one? And they tell me, I never even heard of that. It's like, now is it the Mandela effect? Am I misremembering these things? Or is it just stuff that I found as a kid that no one else had?
Well, kind of going back to this, it's I know there's whispers in the wind, and I mean, I would love to see it happen. Who knows? Guitar Hero and Rock Band are talking about making a comeback.
I heard that. That's going to make a lot of people happy, including this woman right here. Thanks, Al. But she used to do Guitar Hero for her. So I'll never forget the Guitar Hero, man. We had our first apartment together. It was a basement apartment, and we had Guitar Hero on the PS2. And we played the hell out of that game. We played it all the time. Like, it was to the point of when I would go to lay down for bed at night and close my eyes, I'd see the frets scrolling like as my eyes are closed. I would just keep seeing it.
So can I tell you something cool?
Yes, absolutely.
I can get the guitars back in, and you can actually, there's a PC. It works for the PS3 and they work for PC, and they're wireless, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called. It's like a Guitar Hero knockoff on PC you can download and play. And the guitar actually, it's like Fake Hero or whatever it is. It's a knockoff, obviously, but you could download games, and you could actually sit there and you have the guitar. It's only $35 to buy the guitar. And one of our girls bought it here at the store, and she went home and she's sitting there playing it, and her dad is like, where did you get this relic? And she's like, oh, Mike sells these at the store. He sells retro now. He's like, don't ever call Guitar Hero retro. And he's like, can you download music on this? And one of the things coming out for it is it's just a free to play whatever. If you just want to stream along to like whatever, it's kind of neat. And for 35, you can kind of, build your late 2000s, early 2000s like time, list again.
That's awesome.
I would love to see Guitar Hero Rock Band come back. That was such a part of gaming in that world, where it's like, getting the drum sets, getting the guitars out, getting the microphone, realizing your friends suck at singing, realizing playing a plastic guitar can infuriate you.
Yes, that's when everyone learned if they were truly tone deaf or not. You couldn't hit the notes properly on the screen. For $35, you can light it on fire after Hendrix style.
You sure can.
Dude, Guitar Hero was so much fun, but there were nights that Alex would be playing that thing until 2 or 3 in the morning in that apartment. Like, she was obsessed with this game. She's a big music nerd. She loves her music. So,
I mean, you'll never see it probably again, but I remember when Dance Dance Revolution ruled the world. That was retro. Dude. That was PS2. Those were, people getting their play mats coming over their friends' houses, and sleepovers and whatever was just DDR all, going through. That was crazy. That was more techno house music, but that
DDR,
that was
man.
One of arcades too was the DDR machines.
Yep, that's Fun and Games near us had the DDR machines, and I know a few people. One of you, if you are out there and you are watching this, I know you still live near me. I'm not going to call you out by name, but you were on there a lot. But let me tell you, this person that used that DDR machine every weekend and got really good at it, they actually lost a lot of weight doing that too. It was big for them. Oh, you're a little choppy.
That game came out and said, we have a weight loss mode now.
Ooh.
We're a little choppy. That company came out and said when DDR Max 2 came out, there was a weight loss mode where even if you're still that DDR Zane from Grandma's Boy was a classic. It sure was
so good. Love that movie.
But that was a thing where the one mom wrote in and she's like, my son is beating his weight loss by just video gaming, by sitting on the Dance Dance machine and losing weight that way.
Yeah, and that's when after that is when Xbox did their Xbox Fit or whatever it was, right? Whatever the heck it was that you put on the top of the TV.
I remember.
Ridiculous. It all started then.
We're a little choppy tonight.
A little bit. I can still hear you audio wise. Everything's still smooth audio wise. Just your video's chopping up a little bit. That's all right. I got you. We're still there.
Come on, girl. You can do it. You can do it.
Stay alive.
I have my
That's
one
right.
guy building me a PC for the store so I can.
Yeah, coming soon,
But,
right?
yeah. I mean,
Coming
it was
soon.
wild.
Dragon's Den games.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that.
We got to figure out a clever name for it and everything and come down. We have the microphone set up. We kind of have an idea what we want to talk about, but it's just kind of getting everything,
Yeah.
finding the time.
It's the hardest part when you run your own business and you're constantly busy making sure everything's going smoothly in your shop, trying to find that extra time to do what you need to do. But you just
Well, when
consider it part of the job. It's part of the promotion, right?
Yeah. Right. But that was like, how big my store is. They were like, you should get an arcade section. I'm like, yes, that's what people want to hear when they're doing DDRs.
Been in the binder for 20 years.
Your adventure begins, and all of a sudden, like Daft Punk starts blaring.
Yes. Harder, better, faster, stronger.
Around the
It's like a
world.
theme song for the D&D campaign.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. So yeah, going back to the games, walking around, looking at everything back at the con. Like I had a couple things in mind that I wanted to get. Alex said, she wishes she bought that Island Adventure game. That's one that she played a lot as a kid. She remembered. I told her to get it. I told her a couple of times. She's like, no, I don't want to. Should have gotten it. She definitely should have gotten it.
With
But
cons,
What's
buy
that?
it. With cons or anything like that, just buy it, because who knows when you'll ever see it again.
Yeah, exactly. But I got Vegas Dreams, which is the one that I went in there looking for when I saw all the games. That one I was looking for, and that's because of the nostalgia it brings me, thinking about my mother, thinking about my grandmother, who are no longer with me. So that's something cool that I have. This cool memory that I have as a kid is them playing that game. Like, my mom didn't play a lot of video games. First time she tried Super Mario, she was terrible. I made fun of her. She laughed. I laughed. That was it. She didn't play it much after that. So to see her on a video game, I thought it was neat. So I got that one, and I ended up getting Simpsons. Bart Simpson against the space aliens. Bart Simpson versus the space alien, or Space Invaders, whatever it was. I got that one for my kids. They've yet to play it yet, but I'm going to get them on that one of these weekends. Show them what a real difficult game is like. So now I got a couple of them to have them play. I also have Turtles in Time.
Speaking of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a new game is coming out in May.
A new Turtles game. Really? How long has it been?
Oh God, I don't remember. I don't think they did
Ages,
the
right?
ones. Ages. If you remember going back, that was the original arcade game that everybody had a line of. I remember when they launched those games in the arcade, and kids had their quarters lined up on the screen as the next one. Okay, when you drop, I'm taking over, and that's how we ended up beating it in the arcade. Was just God, we probably we didn't tell our parents, but we probably put $40 into that machine. But
No.
it was the last time we ever going to see Top Dog. It was the last time we ever going to see these things. So I mean, go out with a bang.
That's right. You had Top Dog while I had Fun and Games. I went to Top Dog as a kid, but not as often because it was further away. We didn't go to Scranton all that often.
I was an arcade rat, so I mean, it was cool to have that with us. You know what I mean? I would love to see arcades make a comeback, to be honest with you.
God, I want to listen. I wanted to run one. I wanted to have one for years now. I just don't have the capital to invest. If I could actually, if I had the money, if I hit the lottery, I would find some games, some old games, start collecting them, and open something up. But I think the maintenance is probably the hardest part, isn't it?
It is. And I actually had a guy contact me because I wasn't joking around before, where my next venture would actually be to reopen a Top Dog thing out in Scranton. And this guy actually stopped down. He goes, if you're serious, I would actually consider kickstarting you. And I was like, I don't know what Top Dog is. All right. Once upon a time, Alex, there was these, the greatest place where only a boy like me could ever be happy. And it was the home of the 35-cent hot dog and the 50-cent hamburger. And it was an arcade. I mean, it was greasy pizza mess arcade. The floor was icky. The, the place was like, it smelled like a deep fryer. There was French fries and hot
Yes.
dogs on the floor. But you know what? It was, for a gamer, it was heaven.
It
And there
was
ticket
heaven.
counters. There was skee ball in the back. Okay, you ready for this? Okay, in the back corner, there was Big Bertha's balls where you had to throw the balls in the clown's mouth. There was skee ball going around. There was 3 basketball machines for hoops. There was the punching machine, and then there was on the outside was the shooting game. So they had a row of like MIA and Operation Foxtrot and stuff like that. Or Operation Wolf was a big one that they had there. Then there was the other side was Pit Fighter, the fighting game. So Street Fighter 2 Turbo. All the racing games, which included the Kawasaki bikes. Remember, you got to lean into the bikes as you went past. There was an arcade. There was a helicopter game. I forget its name. There was that one right there. You turned the corner. There was 2 racing games with cars. One, you actually had to start the key with the ignition to go. Another one, you just put the quarters in and go. Lucky and Ace was on the third side of that. On the other side was the Simpsons arcade. There was on Area 51. It was like Simpsons arcade and like 3 other X-Men with the games and some other ones right there. As you go up, there's a bubble. There was a machine that let you make a balloon for Top Dog and like one of those like junior kids games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they're the first games to have a holographic. Yes, I remember the layout of our Top Dog very well.
Dude, that's so great, Alex. It's definitely like Fun and Games. It was the Dixon City version, and I can show you the building where it's at when we go to Scranton next.
It's the what do you call it now? It's like the Billards now.
Yeah. So it's funny that you're talking about the layout of Top Dog like that, because I can envision Fun and Games from my youth as well. And it changed a bit from the time I was a little kid to the time I turned into a teenager. But when I was like 13, 14, 15 years old, we hung out there like every weekend. And it stayed that way until they shut down and I got my license and we ended up going to the Paw Pack Bowling Alley instead. So we went from going to an arcade to going to a bowling alley. That's where our hangout went. But Fun and Games, same way, man. Like I remember exactly how everything was laid out. Ours had a Web City, like the little.
You had a Web City, you had a mini golf game. You also had the gyrosphere, but on the left side there was the wall of crane machines as you walked in that had all the cranes like and things. On the other side was all the
coin pushers.
I remember. I was there too.
The Scat Cat machine, air hockey. Air hockey is where I basically lived when I was young. Then they had the pitching machine that was over by the skee ball. I remember where Golden Axe was. That was awesome. Simpsons, I remember where that machine always was. The shooter games was always over on that side. They even had mini golf, man. Fun and Games had it all. That was the spot. Like I wish that I could do something like that. I wish. That would be a lot of fun.
That was one of those things where I'm like, kids today don't realize what, like, you know, like a lot of like, oh, that sounds like, okay, it's arcades. I can go home and play video games. I'm like, that wasn't the point.
Yeah.
It was like an experience with your friends. It was something that you physically can go to, win tickets, win those things. And Fun and Games was absolutely incredible for that. Top Dog was absolutely incredible for it. It's one of those things where, you know, we had the crappy hot dogs, but they were amazing. And the French fries, you guys had a Pizza Hut alongside of it. You know what I mean?
Yep, exactly. So that was like the popular spot for birthday parties and whatnot, man. You hop in there, you get pizza from Pizza Hut brought over, and you were good to go. I had many birthday parties there. Yeah, absolutely. I would love to hear it.
Well, Dragon's Den was almost going to be an arcade.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Well, it was a coin flip, and it honest to God was. I sat there and I said, should I do tabletop gaming store or should I do an arcade? And my wife is like, it's your decision. I'll support you no matter which way you go. I flipped a coin and heads was game store, and that's where it landed. So that's where we got. And it was, if it was tails, I was going to do the arcade.
A coin flip, people, a coin flip. His business was decided on a coin flip. That's insane, but it's definitely something I would do.
Well, the greatest risk in life is never taking one.
Yeah, that's true.
So what was your go-to arcade game? Those, we could talk about those now. Those are retro.
Yeah, I mean, art. Oh, God, like you said, that was where you lived. I was there a lot as a kid too. Simpsons is one I always played. I played it all the time, but I never beat it because I never wanted to spend all of my money on that game. So The Simpsons was always one I played. And I would always be Bart because I liked using the skateboard as a weapon. I didn't like being Lisa. She used the jump rope. Like, what the heck is that? I don't want to use a jump rope. You just use the skateboard. But I mean, that's a classic. How could every time I went there, no matter what I was doing, I had to play Simpsons every time.
I would say Marvel versus Capcom was a huge one I used to go to. Like, I was a sucker for that. I was a sucker for all the racing games where it's like with the Kawasaki bikes and you got to like sit on the bike and actually do the thing. Those were fun. I mean, Ninja Turtles was great. I mean, absolutely was Ninja Turtles. We spent a ton of time on those too, Alex. I don't know. I think these kids, like, it's one of those things we experienced. Like, as I got older, so did the games where it was like, you know, was it Bloody Roar was on there, and you know, Street Fighter versus Capcom and Street Fighter and Tekken, and I mean Tekken Tag Tournament 2 was a huge one that everybody got into. You remember Tekken Tag Tournament? Yeah, you do. That game was awesome.
Cruisin' World was my driving game. I like Cruisin' World.
Cruisin' USA was a big one. Forza was on there. I think they had an arcade game before anybody else did.
Really? Forza did?
I think so. I mean, Sega's been around since the dark ages. You got to remember that. They've been around for a long ass time. There were a lot of
Capcom arcade games.
Capcom rules. Yeah.
I do remember that. I also remember the one that was
the Ninja Turtles game in front of two guys. I do remember that.
What about the one that was in Pizza Hut too when it was there? Just inside that door in the hallway. I think it was the same Ninja Turtles game. If I remember right, it was the same Ninja Turtles game. It had the like cover over the top of it. You could sit on either side.
I can do Around the World with Top Dog. I don't remember like funny games.
Yeah. I wish we could raise our kids in the 90s. It's funny you said that because I was saying the same thing at work today. How, you know, we were born in the wrong generation. Like our kids would have loved it in the 90s. This is all right. So this is where I'm at. Like I'm a gamer. I love to play video games. Clearly, I use technology. We do the podcast here. But I keep saying, man, technology is going to be our downfall. It's going to be. Because kids have more access to technology nowadays. They're coming out with AI. The AI assists you with everything. And these kids are using technology for absolutely everything. It's like they don't get a chance to go out and do things on their own and learn things on their own and learn to be bored. They always have something with them to keep them from being bored. So if they're not bored, they're not going out and they're not learning new things.
Stuff, junk, and things.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not even going to get onto that tangent because that's a different show. That's a variety show topic.
But you know what? And it's like the arcade was one of those things where I know people that like that's where they actually met. Like she was the emo girl on the DDR machine, and he was a kid going to the Tekken Tag tournaments, and like that's where they met. I've had friends where like that's where like they were doing the Time Crisis. I was huge into Time Crisis.
Time Crisis. That was a good one.
All of them, like I've spent, I don't even want to know how much money I spent on the arcades with the Time Crisis machines, but like that's where I met one of my bigger friend groups was us just hanging on the mall because when Top Dog closed, they had the one in the mall for the longest time. And I mean, it was all the mall employees lined up to do like DDR, like those kind of things. And then it was like us right beside the machines was all Time Crisis.
Yeah. And were you a big skee ball person when you went to the arcade?
When I wanted to cool down and just kind of like take a chill out, yeah. Actually, with my mom, that was a big thing that we shared. A thing was always doing the skee ball together. Like that was a big like family memory for me.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to get those tickets. You got to see what the big deal is and why people can't get that little hole in the top left corner.
Oh, they were the shittiest prizes too, but you didn't care.
Yeah.
It was some like Walkman headset for like 9,000 tickets.
Yeah.
It was like, they're garbage. They were bought in a Dollar Tree. You know they were, but like whatever. They were, you know.
Bro, the lava lamps, though. You had to get the lava lamp. That's what you had to work for.
Oh, yeah. That stupid lava lamp that you knew wasn't going to work right or whatever. See, every time everybody buys a lava lamp, they think they don't work. Bye, Johnny. They think they don't work, but you have to let a lava lamp like heat up for like an hour and change, I think, if I remember my training correctly with the videos.
Yeah. That's the kind of stuff that I wanted when I was younger was the lava lamp or like those bigger prizes. I'm like, oh man, I got to save all my tickets. And I remember going in there. You get the tickets, you bring them up to the counter, they weigh them, they tell you how many you have, and they'll give you like the little card that says 100 tickets, 500 tickets, and you start saving them. I remember having like a whole collection of that shit in my room as a kid, trying to work up to get a lava lamp. I eventually got one, but then when I got a little older, started hanging out there more as a teenager, I may or may not have gotten free tokens from somebody that I knew there, but anytime I would use them, I'd try to get the tickets, and I would just get candy, because I mean,
Corey, are you the reason we don't have this anymore?
it's totally my fault. But no, like I would start getting candy instead. I'm like, why do I want these cheap prizes? But yeah, man, as a kid, it's really cool. It's like you want to save up, you want to get rewarded for spending the time and the money and doing all this stuff, you know. I think that was part of the fun. Like as adults, we're like, all right, yeah, these prizes are crap. Like, why does my kid want this? But when you're a kid, like you think back to it, it was more about the process.
Well, that's 100% what it was. It was like my dad went there with me. Like my dad used to take us all the time. Yeah, not 500 tickets leaving a novelty pencil topper. I mean, it was shit like that. It was garbage, but you wanted it. And he was like, "What do you like? Don't just get a pile of candy." Yeah, don't get a pile of candy. Actually, get something that you want. And we ended up getting some stupid like Walkman for my brother that was like an AM FM radio. It was still fun trying to get it. Like you busted your ass trying to get those things. Like you did skee ball and you did like the Bopagator on the snout kind of thing. That was my wife's favorite game.
Yes. Now I'm angry. I hear that all the time. Bro, every time I hear someone say, dude, I'm so angry, that's exactly what I think of, is that silly alligator game. Every time. It's just stuck in my memory.
Then you go to like, I think one of my favorite other arcade moments, also going back to like the day, was always in movie theaters, because they used to have like the best, like they had the new DDR machines, they had the new like, you know, skill games, that kind of stuff, but they also had like the new Time Crisis, the new racing games and all that stuff, the new Jurassic Park games. The Jurassic Park games were absolutely incredible, like for having like that rail shooter kind of feel to them. Do you know what's not fair, Corey? Do you know what's really not fair? Japan has a Resident Evil rail game that's in the arcades, and that's not fair.
So tell me what you mean when you say rail game.
Okay, you know, like the Jurassic Park games were back in the day where you'd sit in the car and like you get in, you close the curtains beside you, and it's you. And it's like you have the guns.
Yeah, okay.
And it's like, where, you know, like going out the car, like
yeah.
That's kind of what a rail shooter is, because you're on the car. It's like think of it like you're on like a roller coaster kind of thing. Like you're on the set track, you can't really get off. Like Terminator was like that. Time Crisis kind of felt like that. The Jurassic Park games kind of felt like that. Fire Team Raven for Halo is like that. It's those things.
Yeah, okay. See, the most memorable, I know I'm going to get away from arcade games for a second here, but the most memorable game I remember for Jurassic Park for me was on the Sega Game Gear. My older sister had a Sega Game Gear, and she had a Jurassic Park game for it that I used to play all the time.
Was it Grant with the assault rifle? Or was it Grant trying to get off Jurassic Park?
Yes. Where you're running from them, you end up riding a Gallimimus.
Yes. Jurassic Park. Yep, I remember that.
That was such a fun one, man. And it freaking Sega Game Gear, the handheld Sega. I remember when she got that thing, I was like, good Lord, that thing's so big. I can't believe a handheld game is so big. Because, you know, I'm used to the Game Boy, a tiny little thing that I had. I thought it was ridiculous.
But it was color.
It was color, and it was fun. It was still really cool.
4 or 5 AA batteries. That thing needed like a flashlight battery, like a giant square.
Dude, it was like holding a brick.
It was.
The thing was huge.
Like this big, you're holding onto the thing.
It was neat. Alex brings up a good point. I haven't found it yet, but we'll talk about retro games. We'll talk about the old Apple computer games and stuff. But no, Dino Park Tycoon. I used to play that all the time in middle school in the school computers.
You know what was big was point and click adventures were huge for this like wave of like late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
And like if you go on, I think it's like, I remember that. I remember GameCube Mortal Kombat with Red. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And that was a game that got everybody in trouble because it was like you gotta turn off the blood, and you look back at it now and it's like it's pixelated crap. Or when Resident Evil, when Jill's getting bit, square pixels of blood shooting off, and I'm like, this is so violent. Kids are gonna get corrupted by this.
Oh no.
But like, I remember point and click adventures were huge too, and I mean that was you had to use your noodle nog in there to kind of like solve those.
Yeah.
Look, Mom, I'm gaming and I'm learning at the same time. I'm really not because I'm bored, but
I mean, it teaches you problem solving skills. I mean,
it taught
I
me I
swear-
don't have patience.
well, listen, I swear to God that the video games, me playing video games as a kid really did teach me problem solving skills. It taught me to sit and think things through to try to figure it out or plan ahead. And I don't know. I just feel like it definitely helped.
I get a lot of hell for saying this, and I don't care. Everybody has that one game they absolutely hate. Mine was Myst.
Missed. I never even played that one.
Yeah, don't. It's hard, and it doesn't make sense. And it's
That's
like,
a PC game, right?
yeah, it's a strategy guide. The strategy guide is this thick, and the back is just notebook for you to take notes on. Like, it's you're turning knobs and reading books, and that's all you did. It was like, you know, you had to know quantum physics to understand this book, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's the Pythagorean theorem backwards, but it's and it's like, yeah, Dragon Slayer. You got to play a cartoon. That was wild too. Or there was Punch Out where he was like, you know, you actually got the little handcuff things and you had to box out the things. Those were nuts.
So apparently my daughter just found Dino Park Tycoon online to play for free.
Game on, kids. Game on.
Which is cool. But I mean, looking for that on the PlayStation Store one day or something similar is what led me to get Path of Titans that day. I was like, Dino Park Tycoon. I wonder if they sell something like that in the PlayStation Store. Just a shot in the dark. No, but they have Jurassic World Evolution, which is kind of the same thing. You know, have a dinosaur park, raise the dinosaurs, pretty much the same.
But I think really there was this balance between home gaming and arcades.
What's up, Crow?
And I do think there was that fun balance of like, you could play Tekken, but I mean, it was like, oh my God, did you see, you know, like Billy works down at, you know, the wall. It's got like a 10,000 score on DDR, and you got to go down there and beat it and reclaim your name as, you know, MJR just got knocked off the list, and now it's like BRD is there, and I'm like, I can't have that crap.
Funko
Oh,
Land.
child, Funko Lands.
So tell me about Funko Land because I don't remember Funko
Oh,
Land.
before GameStop became the evil empire that it is, there was a place called Funko Land. And Funko Land was a place where the nerds can rejoice and have fun. And you got to try games before you buy them. And they sold retro consoles, t-shirts. They sold the little plushies and statues. It was incredible. It's something I would actually like to open one day. I would love to reopen like a Funko Land. So let's say you saw a game that was like, I keep going back to it, Mr. Blippi Saves the World. And you're like, Michael, what does it play like? All right, bro. There was a TV at the counter where the guy would actually hook up the game and let you play it for 5 minutes to see if you liked it or not.
Yeah.
They had Nintendo 64s, GameCubes, Dreamcast, every game imaginable. They had like the accoutrement crap. They had the t-shirts. They had controllers. They had everything you could possibly want. And it was amazing. It was literally if you died and went to gamer heaven. That's what
Yeah.
Funko Land was. And there was like Final Fantasy VII posters on the wall, and there was like Mario things, and you could buy the statues, and you can buy the action figures, and you could buy Devil May Cry action figures and Resident Evil action figures. And if you didn't want to try it, like if you didn't like this game, there was an easy return policy. You didn't have to jump through hoops and have a receipt. Hey, bro, I just didn't like this. Can I exchange it for something else? Sure, bro. I remember you buying this 2 days ago. It was like Funko Land was the place that made. Was like what every game store should be for like selling video games. It was the best customer service. It was the best like stuff. It was just fun.
He says Funko Land was epic. Even the workers were epic and knew their stuff. So where was you? You're from Scranton. You grew up over there, right?
I grew up in Moscow, but yeah, I went to Scranton
Okay.
enough times to know.
All right.
It
So
was
where,
up by Heavenly Ham.
up by Heavenly Ham. That's where it was. That couldn't have been that big of a store then.
It was big enough, and it was gorgeous, and it was perfect. And then there was EB Games.
EB. I remember EB.
Like
That one I
Electronics
remember.
Boutique, and then it became EB Games, and then GameStop bought them all and destroyed the magic that was those. But
Ridiculous.
Funko Land was one of those games you walk in, you're like, dude, you know, yeah. There was like, dude, I want like, you know, a game that plays like Resident Evil, but it's kind of like Silent Hill. Oh my God, come here, I got the perfect game for you. And it was matching energy and having fun and actually being like, oh, you got to play Clock Tower. Oh, you're going to play Silent Hill 2. It's going to scare the crap out of you. Do you want to try it first before you buy it? And they were like, yes. And this place is amazing. And yeah, they were just the right size. It was the perfect spot. It wasn't big. It wasn't too small. It was just right and perfect.
And it was personal.
Incredible.
It seemed like it was personal.
It was more personal than almost me, and that's impossible. It's every experience was. It's kind of where I almost based. Like I learned how to retail. Was like going in there and being like, when like one of the Final Fantasies was coming out, and they were handing over posters and like, or like it was time to take down the old stuff and be like, there was a giant like cardboard cutout of Leon and Claire from Resident Evil 2, and I was like, oh my god, I would murder my mom that thing. And he's like, bro, you can just have it. And like teary-eyed Michael's like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, dude, you can just have it. And the district manager came down and gave it to me.
That's
and it
awesome.
was like that moment where you're like, oh my god, that was great. I think I bought a Dreamcast out of there, and like they threw me the memory insert for free because it was like I bought 2 games and all this stuff. They used to run the coolest deals.
Yeah.
It was like you could buy like a Nintendo 64, you got a second controller, and if you bought like 2 games and a memory thing with it. Funko Land was the only place in the world that like I don't know what the hell happened and why they took away the system, but it was the best customer service. It was the best products. They left the games in the cases because it was almost like this gamers understood that this was like your spot, and if you screwed up your spot, you knew you're going to lose it.
Mm-hmm.
But like they would let you see the CDs before you did it. They let you like test run things before you bought it. It was easy. It was like it was a golden era of holy crap. And people don't realize how big the PS1, PS2 era is for gaming. This was when gaming for a lot of people like peaked. We had X-Play on TV. We had like Funko Land, EB Games. It was gaming was just starting to get huge, and people were like, it was all about this, and it was all about that. And we had Adam Sessler and Morgan Webb before she left to do her own stuff, and he went crazy. But it was like people don't realize how big the PS1 and PS2 eras are. And like waiting in line to go get a PS2 and freezing your balls off cold in a Circuit City with God bless it, a father who did not understand any of this crap, who was willing to sit there and wait it out for you, and finally getting one, and like going through all the craziness it was. Funko Land was just one of those pieces of the puzzle that reminds you that like what we lost. And if I get big enough and I could open something like a Funko Land, I'd put one right back in like the Dixon City area. I would seriously do half a Dragon's Den and half one of those stores. That's what I want to be. That's the overall goal for me originally, was to bring back like a Funko Land.
Is there, I'm thinking, is there a way to be both?
Yeah,
Funko
of course.
Land and Dragon's Den?
It takes an insane amount of money and patience to do it.
Crow says if you open at Funko Land, you'll be first in line. So before our conversation on nostalgia in gaming is concluded here, there's one more important piece to this whole thing that we have yet to touch on that I think was huge when we were kids. And you reminded me of it when you started talking about how Funko Land would let you try the game. If you didn't like it, you could bring it back.
I let you do that. Where do you think I got it from? Where do you think I got it from? Does that Pokemon Red work? I let you pop it in before you buy it.
Yep. So here's my thing is I miss, and it's because we're in a digital age now. My kids will never get to experience the great fun of going to a little video store. And you could say Blockbuster, but we also had a small one in town here before Blockbuster moved in. Going to a video store, renting a video game or two every weekend. That was like a Friday night thing to me.
We had Arles, and we had, I think it was like Movie Gallery in Hamlin. I want to say that's where we had. We didn't have Blockbuster. Blockbuster was Honesdale and Dunmore. We didn't have those. 552 Main Street in Honesdale, Pennsylvania, my friend.
Yes, sir. Up in my neck of the woods. So yeah, that was we had Thomas Video, and it was in the Storebridge Plaza there, where like all the hospital stuff is now. It was in there, like in the corner. There was a grocery store in there. There was that. That's actually where Super Duper used to be. So we would go down there, and it was a video store, and then it had a little separate room off to the side where all the video games were. So my parents would go in and look for a movie. Us kids would go in and look at video games. And there was
Of
one
course,
dude.
you don't remember
What's that?
Pokemon Snap and Pokemon Stadium were the games that every kid waited outside to see if there was one in the dump bin.
Oh yeah, dude. There was always one game that I would rent from time to time, every couple of months when I didn't know what else to rent, and I could never figure out what I was supposed to do in the game, so I never beat it. Was Echo the Dolphin? You ever
You
play
fought
Echo?
aliens.
You fought aliens?
I'm
Is that
not
what you're-
joking.
Is that what you're supposed to do? Echo the Dolphin fought aliens? I don't know. I
That's-
swam
that's what
around
you
and
did.
died.
Yeah, that's what you did.
Crow says he'll be there this weekend.
Okay.
Funny enough, I'll probably be there at some point on Saturday. Oh, he certainly does, man. He's on Facebook too.
I'm all over the place. Then our podcast is going to come up sooner, like our thing for this. We're on NDT Gaming, my guy, but we're going to have our own pretty soon here. I just have to get the one camera. I think we're all set up and we're good to go.
Echo is a psychedelic game.
Oh, it
But
was.
I never understood it as a kid. I would like I said, I would rent it
Right.
from time to time
Did
and
you
try
know-
to play, because I used to get mad if I couldn't beat a game, and I could never beat it. So I'd keep trying, and I'm like, what am I supposed
Okay.
to do?
You dolphins actually will like scare puffer fish and actually drink the venom to get high.
Yes, I have seen that before. Yes, absurd. I couldn't get out of the first pool. I was slow, bro.
It's okay.
I don't think I even remember getting past the first level. I don't know.
In a way, we all never got out of that first pool.
But I used to love stuff like that. And actually, if I'm remembering properly, a lot of my video game collection came to me when my uncle helped clear out a building that had burned down in I want to say Carbondale. I was young. I don't exactly remember. And it was like an old video store. And in the rubble, like they found the video games and stuff. A lot of them were burned, but stuff that wasn't. Like he brought an entire box of video games to my house one day.
Dude, I still sell out of those the consoles that are like the Super Nintendo and Nintendo all-in-ones are. Like those are incredible, and people don't realize. Like they're like, "Well, I'm looking for an original Nintendo." I'm like, "Well, good luck. Use this instead. You'll love it, and it'll be great, and you'll thank me."
Yeah, Crow. If you're looking for stuff like that, I've got one of those consoles that he's talking about. It's the Retron 5. It's really cool. Like it plays 5 different consoles in one. If you have the games, it's not like one of the emulators where you plug it into the TV and it just goes. It's like the old console. If you have the game cartridges, pop them in and they'll play. It plays most of them.
You
Like,
gotta
it's,
pop it in and actually play, and you don't have to download emulators and crap.
It's
You don't even need
it's
the
so
internet. It will just play.
cool. Yeah, you don't need the internet.
People don't realize, like, yeah.
I rented a Nintendo Power Glove
Yep,
in the late
Wizards.
80s after
Remember
seeing the
the-
Wizard.
I remember. Yeah, that thing was a piece of crap.
Heck yeah, Crow. Appreciate you, my man. Thank you.
Got Cross see you this weekend.
Yeah, now I've got all the feels, all the memories coming back to me, man. Missing childhood, missing the 90s. It was a good time to be alive.
Do you want me to be on next Thursday and I'll give you a rundown of the top like 100? We'll do like the top 10 like PS2 games and stuff like that. I could do that.
Oh, we'll do it again next week.
I'll tell you what I'll do.
Fine
This is
by
what I'll
me.
do for the next little bit of series, and we'll do this. People have been asking me to do this, ironically, weirdly enough. But I can start on we'll start on like the Nintendo, go to Super Nintendo, and do like the top 100 games rundown for them.
All right. Yeah, that sounds fun. I'm down with that.
Why they sucked.
And why they were so terrible. See how many of them you've actually played. Let's
Every
do
game
that.
for the PS2 was incredible. No, Charlie's Angels blew, and everybody knew it. Sorry, Croc was not better than Crash Bandicoot. You can bite me for that one.
What wasn't better than Crash Bandicoot?
Croc. See, you don't even know. You don't even
Croc?
remember it. Yeah, don't worry about it. It was awful.
I vaguely remember the name, but I don't remember.
Yeah, there's a reason.
Yeah. Sounds like it's about a caveman or something. I don't know.
It's not about a crocodile that was a platformer.
Croc. Okay.
You're thinking of Tomba. That was when you were the caveman.
Oh, okay. All right. So okay. So are we making it official? Are we going to do this next week?
Sure, I'll give them.
Or-
I want to just rant like a lunatic on PS2 because I'm angry about things that shouldn't have been games, but they were.
Okay, we're pulling out the flex schedule, folks. Next Thursday, 6
Yeah.
p.m.
1 hour nonstop. I will not stop. I could do it a whole talk thing for an
Yes,
hour.
so that's what we'll do. I'll introduce the show. I'll say, "Hey, PS2 breakdown, Mike, go,"
And then
he'll
just
give it
go
to
away
you.
and I will rant like a lunatic.
It's going to be fantastic. All right, so guys, Mike, you got anything else before we head out? I'm starting to lose my voice a little more than I had at the beginning.
Oh, I got new controllers in.
Yeah, push some stuff before we go.
Can I show you one thing? It's really cool.
For sure.
So I got hot dog and sriracha coming in and mac and cheese and Captain Crunch. But the Tetris controllers came in. And these will work for your Android PC, Mac, and Nintendo Switch. And they're pretty great. It just was a Tetris one, but there's a hot dog and a sriracha one.
A hot dog one. I love it.
They're actually they feel really good in your hands. And for $30, it is like one of those controllers that, like, I left one at home. I got a sriracha one, and my wife stole it because, of course, she did.
Makes
you think
sense.
I'm joking? There's a mac and cheese and sriracha one, and a hot dog one, and there's a Heinz ketchup one, and it's just these different ones, and they're amazing. And you're like, they feel so good in your hands.
That's what
And
my wife said.
what's up?
I said that's what my wife said.
Uh-huh.
I don't have the rated R emblem up today. My bad. We're usually not rated R.
Well, you can use this thing on like Raspberry Pi and Amazon Games and everything on the Sun, and it's great.
That's pretty cool. Erie says, "I love a good rant." Subscribed. I'll try and catch it. Thanks, guys, from this retro guy. Hell yeah.
Oh,
Erie.
yes.
I appreciate
Gary,
you.
I can do a solid hour of nonstop talking. God gave me the gift to not shut the hell up. So that's what I will do with it.
Yeah. The gift of banter. We love it.
Yeah, that's what it is.
All right. What you think? Anything else before we head out?
Go Packers.
Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. We really appreciate you. We had a great time talking nostalgia tonight. I love it. It's one of my favorite topics. I love reminiscing and, dreaming about the old days. So everyone, until next time, we will see you all later.
Later.
Today's episode is sponsored by Dragon's Den, Games and Hobbies. You can visit them at 552 Main Street in Honesdale, PA, or call them at 570-647-4633.